The Hog Sty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of the hogsty.com.
And welcome back to the Hog Sty, your number one source for the most up-to-date Redskins news and the absolute hottest sports takes on either side of the Mississippi. My name's Sean Conti, and I assure you the pleasure's all mine, folks. The season's coming up, so please stick with us, because there's so much more exciting stuff to come. But for now, I got Steve Thomas and Alex Zeese here with me, my close friends and confidants. How you guys doing tonight?
I do have one quick announcement. On the last show that Jamal and I did, I was talking about my big Landon Collins article. I decided not to publish it this week because it was going to be Friday, and I did not want to publish such a big expose on a Friday. So that's why it didn't come out. It will be out probably Tuesday.
Okay. All right. So look for long-form Tuesdays if you have nothing to do at work.
Yeah, long-form Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I'm happy to be back. I was on vacation last week, was off in the woods, shooting arrows at trees, and
I saw that
talking to bears, whatever I do. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw you with an archery picture on your profile, right?
Me and my new bow.
Nice.
Not a fancy one, but, I do love my archery. Always have.
Why am I the one who is never on cool vacations?
Because you're a workaholic?
That's exactly the word that I was going to use to explain this to him.
I'm the alcoholic, you're the workaholic. That's the show.
Well put.
So.
Yes. And thanks, guys. I want to say we're doing this Friday night, and thank you guys for working around my schedule.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey, it's not like either of us have anything else to do on a Friday night.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not interrupting any big social plans, trust me.
No. Oh, so you want to know what I didn't do when I was on vacation?
Absolutely.
Is it PG?
No, it's very PG.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, it's stupid. I didn't jump a bull.
Ah.
Oh, dude.
Somebody else did.
Yeah.
This is the hottest trend going on in sports right now. What's wrong with you, my man?
Yeah. Well, I don't have the ups. My knees would just fall off if I tried that.
I mean, from an athletic standpoint, I admired what he did.
Yeah, that's a hell of a jump.
Yeah, it really was. I can't, and I notice some of the Redskin fans out there, have kind of a live and let live attitude and leave the man alone and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I would like to cite, I have my 300-page binder out right now.
Good Lord. Uh-oh. He really does.
And I would like to cite, I mean, you guys.
It's a black 3-ring binder, folks.
Yeah, it's 300 pages. And I would like to read paragraph 3 from the forum player contract. That is Appendix A to the collective bargaining agreement. Quote, without prior written consent of the club, player will not play football or engage in activities related to football. Sorry, let me start. I was reading the wrong clause. Okay, or engage in any activity other than football which may involve a significant risk of personal injury. So in other words, engaging in an activity other than football that involves a significant risk of personal injury is a default of the contract.
Right.
And
so
5 people
and we're assuming jumping over a bull is, stupid.
Now, some of these now this is the form, and so you can add stuff to the form. So some of these players have, like if you employ Kellen Winslow, you can have a "don't ride a freaking motorcycle" clause in here.
Right.
But
right, or Ben Roethlisberger, he had that same thing happen.
Don't rape anyone.
Well, I was talking about just his riding the motorcycle with no helmet that he got in an accident. But yes, also don't rape people.
I'm
Can
sure
we put
there's
that in
a
all
no
contracts?
rape clause somewhere in there. Somewhere there should be.
There should be.
Every contract really should say just don't rape people.
For 99% of the public, you don't have to say it.
Well, this is the 1%.
My point here is that Josh Norman's jumping over a bull is most definitely activities that involve a significant risk of personal injury in violation of paragraph 3 of the.
I would say so. Yeah.
Now, because he wasn't injured, they'll probably and he's Josh Norman, and they need him. They'll probably overlook it, or they'll talk to him and say, "Stop it, you idiot!"
Right.
We'll never know about that. But if he had gotten gored and hurt, what would have happened to him then is he goes on the non-football injury-related list, and he's in breach of the contract, and they don't have to pay him, and so he would have lost
11 million or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it is very dumb, and not to mention, there is also the questionable aspect of the whole bullfighting thing anyway. From a just moral standpoint.
Perspective.
Look, if you're this was the running in the bulls thing, though, right? It wasn't.
Yeah, this wasn't bullfighting. This is just running in the bulls.
Bullfighting is another level of moral depravity, but
Yeah.
like letting bulls run through the street or through the arena into the street isn't
and
quite
gore people. Yeah,
that I'm all for the bulls goring people. I'm just not for people goring the bulls.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yes. Although that other video of the guy holding his baby at the running of the bulls, kind of dumb.
Yeah, that's not the smartest thing I've ever heard.
Not kind of dumb. That's
Yeah.
like a you need to not own that child anymore level. That's Michael Jackson level of dumb.
Right.
So I got a question then. Steve, can you think of any time, this is like a total on-the-spot question, but can you think of any times that this clause was enforced of other players doing risky stuff on the offseason?
I know one.
Go ahead.
Ooh, okay.
When LeVar Arrington crashed his motorcycle and ended his career with the Giants.
But is that riding a motorcycle, I'm assuming, wouldn't really fall under the umbrella of this clause, which is saying doing things that are inherently riskier might cause significant
I wouldn't
injury.
necessarily go think that, Sean.
Yeah?
If you're, I think I would certainly. Number one, like I said, this is just a form, okay? And so you can tailor these contracts, and so some of these teams will put an addendum onto this thing that says this means no skydiving. This means if you're who's the guy who's about to go to jail, the tight end Kellen Winslow.
Yeah.
Don't ride motorbike. You could tailor this to what activities are prohibited. Specific activities are prohibited. This is the catch-all statement. That's enough to catch a really dumb thing. Now,
did Plexico lose money when he shot himself?
Yeah, he lost money. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's another one.
Like Albert
I'm thinking of a lot of Giants who injured themselves.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, the Redskins had some on the non-football injury-related list, recently.
The guy who got busted for pot and stuff, or is that what you're thinking of? Or
No. Somebody was just on this list for being hurt in the offseason. It'll come back to me, but last year. So there's been a lot of guys on that list. Then some of the times we don't really know what happened. They're just injured.
Right.
But in terms of specifically conduct like this, I can't think of anybody. LeVar Arrington's a good example, but I can't think of anybody.
Yeah, because I think his injury was also he was purposely speeding on a crotch rocket, and that's why he.
Well, most of these players aren't stupid enough to, offer themselves up to a bull when they have like $14 million at risk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm just thinking of if it came down to a legal dispute or something between a player and a team, and they're like, yeah, okay, 5 people got gored at Pamplona this weekend running the Bulls, but 4,000 people were running, so it's like a fraction of a percent. It's like, how do you define an unnecessarily dangerous activity if someone really wanted to fight you on that?
I think in absence of a different definition in like an addendum, like I said, if you're just going to litigate phrase significant risk of personal injury, I think you probably have to use, sort of like a reasonableness standard to it and say, what would the ordinary average person, what would the ordinary average, this is like a negligence standard, and so they're basically, so I would maybe apply that standard to, in absence of something else, and say, okay, what would the ordinary average football player deem to be a significant risk of personal injury? And trying to leap over a running bull by anybody's standard would be a significant
unreasonable,
risk.
Yeah,
it's an unreasonable risk of injury. Just riding like a Harley on a Sunday afternoon cruise in the middle of May, maybe not.
Right.
Now, riding a crotch rocket at 100 miles an hour doing a wheelie on a freeway, another story.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. No, that's totally fair. And then, of course, you have people like who was it D Hall that tore his Achilles or something, getting pizza or something.
Yeah, so that's another thing. That's totally. Yeah, he's not in violation of this clause, but he still got hurt. He probably I don't remember. I'd have to go back and check, but he probably was on the NFI list, the non-football related injury list, because of that.
Yeah. And that's a different. That's a freak accident, not something you do on purpose. And I don't know how you could really quantify what is the increased risk of running with the Bulls or any of this stuff.
I think what you do is you apply a
common sense thing.
Well, I would in absence of other case, and maybe there's case law. I haven't looked into it. If there's not case law about this, where a court has defined what's a significant risk, there probably is a case out there. But if there isn't, I would probably apply a negligence standard to it, just as kind of a baseline, reasonable argument. But my guess is that some court somewhere has litigated something like this before, and you could go find it.
I mean, there's millions of lawsuits. I'm sure there's one out there that figured this out.
There's probably precedent where some courts define this. But again, I think the most logical standard is a negligence standard.
Sure.
For me.
And it makes sense. I think your point is well made that like running with the Bulls is pretty
it's
unnecessary
not
risk.
Conduct.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not reasonable conduct.
I would agree, but this is interesting because it gets into a philosophical question of like responsibility to fan base, responsibility to team versus where that runs up against just like living your life and trying to do things, take vacations and do things that anyone would do. I agree. You got some degree of responsibility here. I mean, you got to look after yourself. You're getting a lot of money. So, there's a degree of responsibility, but on the other hand, it's like you can't lock someone down 100% of the time.
You know what?
No.
I think when it comes to Josh Norman, I think playing football is somewhere down in like 5th or 6th on his list.
It definitely is. It's and he's still very good at it. That's fine. But he's not Tom Brady. He's not spending every waking minute thinking of another play.
I just don't think he cares that much. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't like football, but I'm just saying I think some of his other outside interests have overtaken his original love of the game because it seems like he's doing all sorts of other things all the time. And he was utterly unapologetic about this running with the Bulls thing. He, thought it.
No, he hasn't even said anything that I've seen.
Well, I think he did. I think he put something out on Twitter or something that said it was, great experience or words to that effect.
Yeah, all right.
He'd been talking about doing it since his time in Carolina. So I will say that it's not a total spontaneous thing. Doesn't make him any less.
Remember, he's got a weird country thing because he's got all the horses and stuff like that. So maybe this is like him trying to eventually be rodeo clown Josh Norman.
No, this is like. No, that's not rodeo clown stuff. That's like I'm a thrill seeker stuff.
Yeah, it's where rodeo clowns come from. I mean, where do you think rodeo clown originates from? It's from doing weird shit like jumping over bulls.
I guess. I mean, if it's look, here's a good rule of life.
I've been to a couple of rodeos in my life. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. If you're about to do something that Steve-O from Jackass would do, stop.
Right.
Okay? That's a good rule to live by.
Yeah.
I would also say on the Steve-O to Steve Thomas scale, you still want to hit somewhere right in the middle.
It's a great scale, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not going to lose $14 million.
Right.
Steve-O from Jackass will.
Thomas no, he makes $14 million doing the stupid things.
Right. To go back to something you said a minute ago, I think that Josh Norman has love for football still. I think that he doesn't maybe love being a Redskin, which is factoring into some of this sort of lack of caring, or that's what it seems like.
It might be true. He took the money.
Exactly, and that segues in, I think, kind of the next thing we're going to talk about, too. We might not be ready to move on yet, but I think there's...
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something about the Redskins culture that he's maybe not enjoying so much, and there's a couple things there.
Well, but go back, though, to when he was signed, because remember the circumstances. This is a guy who, he came to us in 2016, right? And this was Scott McLuhan. The team, he was like the
Was it Scott McLuhan?
Yeah.
I guess
Scott
you're right.
McLuhan. Yeah. And so this is a guy, he came here, with the team seemingly on the uptick. And the talk was, this defense we're building a championship defense. We've got Robert Griffin, we've got Kirk Cousins. This is going to be a good team. And it all obviously went to hell in a handbasket, for sure. But I think he signed here thinking that the team was going to be better than they are.
Right. And remember, it was also that, hey, you got cut by Carolina last minute, late signing thing.
I also think players can talk themselves into a lot of things when they have a lot of money putting on the table. You can talk. It's easy to talk yourself into saying, okay, this team's on the uptick if they're about to write me a 8-figure check.
Right. I'm going to make this team on the uptick.
Yeah.
That's
like Kevin Durant's going to go to Brooklyn.
Right.
No matter what. Kawhi Leonard will go to the downtrodden Clippers and convince himself that the Clippers are going to win win the NBA title if they're going to pay him $100 and whatever million.
Right. Yeah. I think it's interesting about him, like he came in, this was the guy that wore like feathered boas and stuff to press conferences and stuff and kind of had like a flashy showman thing going at sometimes. It seems like since he's been here in Washington, he got very quiet. and stop doing a lot of that stuff. I don't know if that's at the direction of the administration or he just knows it's not a great team, so he's not going to represent himself that way. But he seems to have gotten very quiet.
Well, I think it also has to do with the Carolina culture. Was much more in favor of guys like that.
Well,
you look at Cam Newton.
Yeah,
and,
look, he's leading the charge. Cam Newton looks like a walking GQ ad, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
He does.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah. So I think that might be part of it.
Well, whereas our team was led by Kirk Cousins, who's Mr., you know...
Vanilla was too spicy.
Yeah. Like Kirk Cousins makes me look adventurous, you know?
Right. On the Steve-O to Steve Thomas scale,
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins.
He's in the negative. He's
Right.
he's left of me, you know?
Yeah.
By the way, you guys mean Kurt Cousins, I think.
Kirk Cousins. Yeah. Tinfoil on the grill Cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's talk about this next thing because I think it's kind of related to what we've been discussing, which is, Alex, this is kind of your baby for some reason, for certain aspects.
Well,
of it.
it's my baby in that I'm the one who suggested we talk about this story, so I'll go through it. Story came out earlier this week. A website called 247wallstreet.com did a breakdown of all the major sports leagues in the U.S. and what teams have had the worst decline in fan attendance over the last decade.
So, I'm sorry, this is all sports, you're saying?
All sports. They
Not
went
just
through.
football, okay.
Right?
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. We're not, and we're just talking the big four. You know, my Arena Football League's not in there. You know, Quidditch is not in there.
I have a newsflash for you, Alex. Arena League has not lost as many fans as the Redskins had. They
It
never
probably
had them in
hasn't.
the
That's
they never
the
had them in
scary
the first
part.
place.
On a percentage basis?
Right.
No. Okay, so now the Redskins were not the worst in the United States. They were just the worst in the NFL. So that's good for them. The worst
You sure
league
about that?
team.
You have it in front of you?
Yep. I have it in front of
number one?
me. Detroit Tigers.
Okay.
Yeah. It was the Detroit Tigers, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Phillies, the White Sox, and then the Washington Redskins, who have it. Now, last year, I double-checked this. We're number one in the NFL for this.
Off-season winning, baby.
Last season, remember we saw a big drop because they started releasing real, in air quotes, statistics for how much the fans have stopped coming. And there was a 19% drop from last year to the year before. But overall, since 2008, we've had a 31% decrease in attendance.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
That's awful.
That is a lot.
Full
Is
third of the
anybody
fan base.
surprised, though? I mean, really?
You know why I'm surprised? We also know the numbers are still inflated by the Redskins.
Well, it's
yeah,
not.
that's
It's
probably
like,
true.
I mean, by numbers of tickets sold, the
Right.
number of tickets sold does not and has not for a long time reflected the number of butts and seats.
Right,
because
because we know like those last games are like 5,000 people.
Yeah, well, now we know the scam, right? We didn't know
Right.
really the scam before last year. Remember
Right.
when Brian Lafemina got rid of the waiting list, what came out in the news media was that the reason why all the tickets were selling is they were selling them to ticket brokers ahead of time.
It was all going to scalpers.
Yeah, ticket brokers, not scalpers, like the professional ticket brokers. And so those were the sellouts, and so that has been going on for a long time. Now, I can tell you from my experience, I put my name on the Redskins waiting list when FedEx Field opened, and I lived in upper
21
Marlboro,
years ago?
Maryland.
Yeah.
In 1997, was it?
Sure, yeah.
And they called me 10 years later.
Yep.
They called me once or twice in the intervening time, offering like premium tickets, which I couldn't afford. But the first time I got offered real season tickets was an entire decade later. When they called
And that
my parents'
was the
house.
storyline. What you just told is what we've heard millions of fans
And that's
have said.
true what happened to me.
Or maybe thousands. I don't know.
But I think starting about maybe 2009, 10 or so.
Right, when they started counting this, because that would have been 2008.
Yeah, I think that you could pretty much walk up to the ticket box in box office and buy tickets.
Well, I don't even know if there is a box office in FedEx Field.
Metaphorically, work with
Yeah.
me, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, like other stadiums actually have a physical box office. I don't think I've ever noticed the one at FedEx Field.
Well, why would anybody ever want to go to Waldorf, Maryland?
Yeah.
Unless you live in Waldorf, Maryland.
Right.
You know.
So, I hear they have good salads.
Listen, you're talking to someone who used to live in Upper Marlboro, too, okay?
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying,
Hey,
if I was going to go buy tickets, I would not go to Waldorf to do it. That's all.
I mean, you know where I live. I live 20 minutes from the stadium.
Yeah,
so
you
I'm
live
not-
in a worse place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
So,
I don't know. I can't I can believe the numbers. And also remember, they've been pulling out seats right and left since 2008.
Okay, well, yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
When this adventure started, the stadium was up to like 85,000.
Yeah, 88 is what they said.
88,000.
Yeah.
Now we're down to 75. You know,
Right. So that's 10K right there at least.
Yeah, 13.
Yeah.
13K.
Yeah.
So, why, Steve?
Why?
You have been jerked around by this team on the waiting list. They're
Yes.
blowing smoke at you. The team's not good. Why are you such a diehard fan, and why do you keep coming back? Why do you do the show?
It's because when I was a really little kid, I think my story is not uncommon. I'm older than you guys, so I go back longer. But when I was a really little kid, like 4 years old, I barely knew what football was. My father took me to RFK Stadium because he got season tickets from a coworker in the Pentagon. You know, because in the Pentagon back then, nobody wanted to give up season tickets, so they were so hard to get. So they would, when they got assigned out of the Pentagon somewhere else, they would keep them in their name and just sell them to like a coworker down the hall. And so my dad got season tickets that way, and it was much cheaper back then, so you could afford it. So my dad took me to games, and for me, it was. I love the Redskins. None of us were from D.C. I'm not from D.C. I'm not really from anywhere, but. My dad's not from D.C., and he wasn't a Redskins fan. It was just something to do with me. And so for me, it's what I did with my dad.
Right.
Sure.
And that's why I love the Redskins. And when we went to the NFC Championship game in 1983, I mean, the one against the Cowboys where the stands when the stands were shaking, I mean, I was right in the Darryl Grant interception happened right in front of me. Those memories are what kept me all these years.
Of course. That's that's what sports are built on.
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
Well, and that's a perfect point, Alex, because that's what I was going to say. What I'm hearing from Steve is the team was good, and there's a nostalgia factor. The problem is this team is no longer fertile soil to put roots down for new fans anymore.
Yeah, but Sean, for me, it didn't really matter if the team was – it helped that the team was good, but what was the most important thing is that I was going with my dad.
Right.
Yeah.
That was what mattered most. I don't even honestly remember if they won or lost the games in the late 70s. To be perfectly honest, it wasn't
50-50 shot because it was the late 70s.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember that being that big of a deal when I was 4 and 5 years old. It was.
They probably I mean, if you went back and look at the records those years, those are like the classic. It's like now it's a bunch of 7 and 9 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, the point was we were there. That was the point.
But you stayed a fan. The team quickly got pretty good after that era. You were still a young man. The team was at the top of the league, and that kept you going. I mean, that keeps everybody going. So that's the thing. I mean, I don't know. These numbers don't surprise me because, I mean, what else do you expect? You'll keep the diehards that are coasting off nostalgia and things they did with family and stuff as kids, but everyone else is going to jump ship when the team starts looking like trash.
Sean, the real anomalies are guys like you and I who are not even. I'm 35. Are you 30 now even?
31.
Yeah, like there's absolutely no logical reason why either of us should be rooting for this team at this point.
Yeah, Jason Campbell was my first quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm 46, and so I go back. I can, like Chris I've told this at least to you guys off the air. Like Chris Hanberger was my first Redskin hero. Because somebody gave me a candle with his number on. I had a Redskins candle with his number on it. And that was why I was a Chris Hanberger.
Did we try to look that up at one point? It was very hard to...
still had. I don't know where it is anymore. I wish I still had it.
It's melted, is where it is.
Well, I think it did melt. I did melt in one of my 18,000 moves I went through. I think it melted
probably.
In a box or
yeah.
something. But Sean, I think it's not just that the team has been losing. It's that the team has been losing in such a way that the franchise has been openly disrespectful to the fans and hopefully contemptuous of the fans. That is what really drives people away. That is what really drives people away. Because there are fans like the Cleveland Browns have never won a damn thing ever, right?
Right.
So our buddy Ernest Biner was the last good thing that happened to the Cleveland Browns up until this Baker Mayfield thing, and I'm still not totally convinced. But those fans have been dedicated because, in spite of everything, those fans were not turned off by the franchise, even though maybe they should have been.
Right. Even though the franchise left at one point.
Yeah, but those fans never felt insulted. And here, Dan Snyder is such a bad owner. I'm sorry to say it, and Redskins are probably going to decertify us. But he's put this franchise through so much publicly that it just really turned people off.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's very contemptuous with the media. The media doesn't cover the team positively, so that doesn't help either. It's like anyone who might be interested is going to pull up an article by whoever,
Right.
whoever it is,
We've
and
written
see
them on this site too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I have
so
written
it's
them.
it's not exactly going to inspire new people to start following the team. So
Well,
I don't
think
know.
about
It
also
doesn't
what we've
surprise
been
me,
through
though.
the past 20 years. We've been through Vinny Serrato, who was
Right.
utterly incompetent buffoon, and Bruce Allen, who feigned competence for 3 or 4 years, and then
Right.
since then it's been a complete disaster. So we've had 20 years, give or take a few years here or there, where the team just looks like it's been run in a horrible manner.
Yeah,
You
fine.
know,
Well,
they don't even look competent.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is when you think back about those teams in the 80s, Jack Kent Cooke was a nut, but generally speaking, he understood what made for a good fan experience. And I think he built a team, not just on the field winning, but he built the whole thing about, making it fun for fans.
Yeah, but I mean, really and truly, like every year in those years, we knew that the Redskins were going to be there.
Right.
We didn't.
They were gonna
expect
be
them
good,
win the
which
Super
helped.
Bowl every year, but we knew the Redskins were going to be competitive and they were going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that Joe Gibbs was a great coach who was a solid person who
Right.
wasn't going to be a jackass. And the team looked competent. Even though they had a North Dallas 40 thing going on. With the Redskins, in terms, they were a bunch of drinkers. Dexter Manley was a coke addict. They had a lot of things like that. Riggo, one could argue. We've had
Riggo might have been insane for all
well,
we.
I mean, he drank a lot.
Yeah.
And we've had. I think Joe Jacoby said that on our show. Did he not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, and so
I don't think it's any secret.
There was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but the team had an air of confidence about them, and Joe Gibbs was driving everything, and so everybody had faith in Gibbs
Right.
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And so it was, you just knew that the team was going to be there because of Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs, somebody needs to build a statue to that guy. I don't know where.
Well, he's got 2 in 2 different Hall of Fames, so
I mean, I'm talking like the Lakers have
Redskins
Magic
Stadium.
Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar out in front of Staples Center and a bunch of others. Somebody
Yeah.
needs to build a statue of Joe Gibbs and put it outside of a stadium.
it is kind of surprising when you think about it that they don't have a statue of Joe Gibbs outside FedEx Field.
What do they have outside of FedEx Field?
Nothing. They have a
Nothing.
parking
A
lot.
I don't think
Yeah.
there's a single. Yeah, I don't
nothing.
know of any player statues that I can think of off the top. There's stuff. There might be some to Sean Taylor. Like I know there's a memorial kind of thing.
I think the isn't Sean Taylor's locker somewhere at the stadium?
Yeah, I think it's in
on
the
the
luxury
club level?
boxes.
Yeah, somewhere up there. Yeah.
Which, by the way, that also kind of tells you where Dan Snyder's out of touch. Let's put a memorial up, but only put it where
In the
Nobody
luxury.
can
the
see it.
top people can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Not
great.
not in the concourses where the fans are, but where the
I
suits
think
go.
you could put it in a manner that would be secure, where people couldn't mess with it, and you could still have it
Absolutely.
on display. If
Totally.
you wanted.
I mean, you've been to other stadiums. They have
Yeah.
displays all throughout arenas and stadiums
Sure.
where the public
I've
can
been
see
to
them.
I've been to a lot of stadiums. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of stadiums around the country, in football and baseball both. I
And
mean,
basketball, I'm sure you've been to a couple.
not nearly as many basketball,
No?
but a
Okay.
few, a handful. But I mean, a lot of baseball stadiums, a lot of football stadiums, and some of the older stadiums can be well done. Mm-hmm. It just FedEx Field is just very kind of blah.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not unique, and it's not. It just doesn't have a lot going for it. I guess
got
I'd say
nothing.
it
Yeah,
like
but
that.
I mean, there are plenty of stadiums that are blah, and you can still have a good
RFK
team. And
stadium was blah.
yeah,
Okay, but the fun of the great part of RFK was what was happening inside it, not
Right.
FedEx Field would be great if the Redskins had been 10-6 every year instead of 7-9
No one
and
would-
8.
yeah.
We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, and I think that's the other big part of it. Look, even some of the blah stadiums around the league have some history to them, and they're from an older era where everything was kind of more blah or whatever.
right.
It's, FedEx Field was built in 95 or something?
97.
Yeah,
97.
97. It's
Yeah.
totally like it's stuffy. It's poured concrete. There's no design.
It's
to
basically built in a sweet spot before they started getting high tech, but it's built in the style of what RFK was.
You guys also
Think
have
about
to
it.
remember that Jack Kent Cooke funded the bulk of it himself.
Yeah, he did it on the. It was all
the
done
cheap.
on the cheap, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
there
and
you
I
go.
mean,
And he had a lot of problems back then. That's where I got involved in a little bit. He had a lot of problems finding the land.
Sure.
A ton of problems. Nobody wanted the stadium. And, nobody
Same problems they have now.
Yeah.
But
probably worse back then.
Yeah. But at least RFK, like, when you look at the style, like, there was a weird thing they were doing with stadium style-wise in the 60s to make them unique. And they were all that it's a baseball and a football stadium thing.
Listen, dump RFK Stadium in Cleveland, and people would have thought it's a dump.
Yeah.
Okay? And RFK Stadium is special because of what happened in RFK Stadium. The fact that the stands shook probably was a bad thing. I don't know if I want my stadium stands to shake.
Right.
You know, because that mean at some point they're going to fall apart.
Of course, remember Dan Snyder wants that in the next stadium. He wants them to put like crazy shocks in so the stands will shake when the fans get excited.
I would advise him putting a team on the field that is worthy of jumping up and down for first.
Yeah,
worry about that later. Yeah, worry about that later.
Well, I'll just say, look, Denver Stadium here, Sports Authority Field, or what was formerly Sports Authority Field. I know that contract is over.
They've changed the name like 8 times. Yeah.
Mile High Stadium.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's got a museum in it. It's, Elway's signed stuff is hanging up. You can go take tours. You can buy tickets just to the museum. I mean, there's a lot. You might say, like, oh, that's totally irrelevant to on the field, but it does factor in. It gives a place a personality. It makes people more excited to go. It makes it more an experience than just a cut and dry sit there and watch the team from the nosebleeds.
Right.
It just adds a little something.
I mean, I'm not one that really cares too much about that, though. I really just, for me, I'm an anachronism, and I realize that. But for me, I don't really need a lot of stuff. I just really want to watch a good football game more than anything else. I was perfectly happy going to FedEx Field. If the game was good and I had a hot dog, and we're going to get to the food in a minute, I would be perfectly happy. But I don't think my view is a representative sample of what the general public would want.
Well, I think it also depends on where you're sitting. FedEx Field is one of those places where if you're in the 400s, you may as well not be there.
The first time I ever sat in FedEx Field was like 400, and it was like I need binoculars to watch this game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I go to, you guys know I go to a lot of stuff at the Capital One Center, which is now, was the Verizon Center or whatever. And when you watch sporting events there, you feel like you're right on top of it. And I don't know what it is. They just built stadiums a little differently. And I know it's a smaller stadium, but, you feel like you're on top of things better.
Yeah. I mean, all that factors in. And I'm just saying, Steve, I know that stuff is sort of irrelevant, having museums and design flourishes, but you've got to find a way to lure the casual fans in. Hardcore fans aren't thrown off by the fact that FedEx Field is boring and uninteresting. Hardcore fans are going to go no matter what.
Right.
But if you're trying to sell out games week by week consistently, you've got to find a way to attract the casual.
This team maybe has 10,000 hardcore fans. Right. That's about it.
Isn't that what Rick Snyder has said?
Yeah.
I know he said it on Seasons of Discontent. I think he said it on this show, too.
Yeah. That's, I think, where I got the line from. Yes.
Yeah, I think he said they've got about 10,000. I mean, but that's pathetic, though.
It is.
That's pathetic, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's that not only has the team hasn't even been spectacularly awful. By the way, the team has been more or less mediocre for a decade.
Yeah,
they haven't even been terrible. It's been the way that the franchise has treated the public.
Yeah, it's entire. I mean, the irony is everyone makes fun of Bruce Allen's whole winning off the field nonsense.
He's been losing spectacularly off the field.
Yeah, that's where they've been losing the most.
Yeah,
that might have been the most brilliant spin by him of anything he's ever said. We're winning off the field. No, that's where you're doing the worst.
Right. Yeah, you guys are 0-16 off the field.
Yeah, we can deal with okay, RG3 was a bust. I think fans can deal with bad players or something just doesn't work out for a season much easier than. We can write 100 things that you've done wrong in your career as a news story,
Right. Exactly.
Which somebody did. You're not making Alex isn't making that up. Yeah. Alex is not making that up.
No.
Oh, I read it. And I believe some of those on that list, 100, were just like, you just suck in general. I believe that was one.
That's true. I think it just ends with you just are an awful person or something.
Put it this way, there's a reason why we're not writing a similar column, okay?
Yes. Very good reasons. Got to play the politics.
Right. We're not that stupid, and we don't have money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you sue us, there's something called a judgment-proof defendant. That would be us.
If you sue us, the joke's on you. Trust me.
I think to a certain extent, Dan has learned a little bit. He's
He
learned
has. That's the irony of it too. Yeah.
But his problem is that Dan Snyder has like Bruce Allen has like sprinkled fairy dust on him or something. Or I don't know if he's like spiking his Budweiser or what, but Bruce Allen has an unhealthy grasp on Dan Snyder. Dan really needs a independent. This is what I said before the season. Dan needs an independent, non-Redskins world guy to come in here and be a competent chief executive.
And he had one and fired him after about 150 days.
Brian Lafemina. Yeah.
I mean, and that's another example of you just don't know what to do.
I don't think I really realized when Brian got fired that the fans really loved him. Apparently, he was interacting with fans at the stadium.
He was.
I didn't really understand that until fans came at us on Twitter and stuff and said, "Hey, we loved him because of that." And so I think when it came down to it, Brian Lafemina threatened Bruce Allen's hold on things, and so he had to go. That's what it was. Bruce Allen is the evil genius of this franchise.
Well, I think that gives a little too much credit to the word genius, but
okay, he's genius at being incompetent.
Right.
He has a genius level. He has a genius level grasp on how to be an incompetent.
We all have guys that we've worked with in our lives who are very good at keeping their jobs, and he's one of those people. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next topic because we're just going to start rabbit holing and getting depressed.
Okay. Yeah, surely they have fantastic plans to lure this 30% of the fan base back, right, Alex? Comprehensive plans. Okay,
they do. Do we want to do the poll first, or do we want to go down the new stuff that they're putting in the stadium this year?
Explain it first.
Okay, so we got a press release. This is the fourth year, I think, they've done something like this where they're big reveal of here's all the new food, all the new amenities at the stadium. And I'll give them credit. The last couple years, they've been adding stuff to try and entice fans. Hey, we've got better food. Hey, we're doing like a local beer thing. We're doing, just little things here and there to make fans happier when they're at the stadium. Because happy fans should show up more, right? This is, basic marketing.
Ideally.
Yes. So they sent us a press release and sent out a press release to everybody. And here's the stuff that's going to be unveiled this year. Guy Fieri's going to have a chicken restaurant at FedEx Field.
Is the guy who does that Diners and Dives show, right?
50-something-year-old dude with blonde spiked hair who yells at you a lot on the TV.
Like he fell out of like a Fall Out Boy video.
Well, everyone calls him Smash Mouth clone because he looks like the guy from Smash Mouth.
I never heard that, but
I like my off the top of my head.
Yeah, he does kind of look like Fall Out Boy too. Yes. Yeah.
He's the Flavor Town
guy. So, by the way, I love his show and I hate his show at the same time. Just, I'll leave that out there. Johnny Rockets, which, as we all know, that's got like a Dan Snyder tie and it's still in the stadium.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're adding a crunchy bacon avocado ranch burger, which to me sounds awful. But I hate ranch dressing. You guys know that. We've had that discussion. Let's see. Other things. They added a beef brisket grilled cheese, which I would probably try that.
I'd try that.
Yeah. Ben's Chili Bowl is in the stadium as of a couple of years ago. They're adding vegetarian options, a vegetarian chili dog and vegan chili, which, what's the point? That's just called, vegetable soup.
Right.
Right. If it doesn't have beef, it's not chili. That's my rule.
Some meat. You can have chicken or something in it, or turkey, I guess.
Well, when I make chili, it's usually got like 4 different animals in it now.
I don't think I'd want to eat your chili, though, Alex.
My chili's amazing. I stole the recipe from my departed father-in-law, who was a chili champion.
Is it spicy?
It's not too spicy.
Okay, that's too spicy for me.
No, I use smoked brisket. That's my key.
I wouldn't eat your chili.
Okay, so lastly, we got this is a new trendy thing that I've seen around. Funnel cake fries. Basically, it's funnel cake, but in French fry form. So, strings of fried dough.
Okay, and so instead of doing the regular poll where we're going to poll you about some football issue, look, it's the middle of July, and there's nothing going on in football right now whatsoever. So we thought, let's have a fun poll, right? And so we did a full poll about the
there's 2 more things, and one is on the poll, so we'll get to those.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So we thought, let's do a fun poll. and just try to do something different. And I think what our poll, so we polled the public about the food, and what the poll results really proved more than anything is that nobody cares about the food. Okay?
Right.
Because this poll was like our lowest voted poll we've ever done.
Yes.
We've never had a poll that had this few votes except
it's been a long time if we
nobody
have.
was listening to the show. Or
Yeah,
anything. Yeah, it's been a really long time. So the overarching result of this poll is that nobody cares about this food stuff. So, but here's the poll question. FedEx Field recently announced a host of new food choices for the upcoming 2019 Redskins season. Which one of these are you most likely to try? Guy Fieri's chicken, the Boardwalk fries, funnel cake fries, the Paisano's pizza delivered to your seat, or the Ben's...
Yeah, that's one I forgot to mention. They're delivering pizza to your seats, which,
Yeah.
Come on.
Or the Ben's Chili Bowl vegan chili.
Yeah.
So those are the choices. Now, do we want to try and guess this? You guys want to give it a shot?
I actually know because I cared enough to actually vote.
Okay,
so
well, Sean, do you want to try and take a stab at this? What you think the public would vote for?
I will, absolutely. And I'm going to say vegan chili was the absolute last option that anyone checked. I'm extremely confident in that. But for the other ones, I don't know. That's tough. I'm going to guess people said pizza deliveries to seats because that's kind of new and cool, but I have no idea. And I'm always wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you try most out of these?
I think I would probably... honestly, of everything we've talked about, I'd probably go for the avocado ranch burger. I just don't understand
that
why
wasn't
everything...
an option, man.
I know it's
You
not an
gotta go
option.
with the options.
I didn't put that on as an option because that to me sounds revolting.
Everything else sounds good, except why does everything have to get smothered in avocado these days? I don't get that.
I think
okay.
I'd rather eat a vegan chili bowl than an avocado anything.
Yeah.
Are you not an avocado guy? You're in
God, it's
Texas,
awful.
man. That's awful.
Do I enjoy the whole Texas experience?
That's
very
true.
much?
So I'm sorry. Can you give it to me again? It was pizza.
Okay, so it's Guy
chili.
Fieri's chicken,
Guy
the funnel
Fieri,
cake fries, the
Funnel cake.
Paisano's pizza delivered to the seat. I don't know anything about Paisano's pizza. It must be a DC thing. And
It's
then
a local
Ben's,
chain, yeah.
Okay, then Ben's vegan chili is the last one.
Man, I'm not really super excited about any of them, but I'd probably say the chicken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably.
Now,
Yeah.
now
And
let's know the results.
I peaked, so
What would
I
you-
know the
so
answer.
what would you pick then?
Oh, personally, I would do the pizza to the seat. People need to realize things being brought to you in your seat is the best thing that you could do in a stadium.
That's
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
so
Steve, you hate like fancy food, but come on, pizza just brought to you. How can you hate that?
There's no chance I would do anything but the pizza delivered to the seat. I mean, that's
Yeah.
if I was voting on this, which I didn't, I'd definitely do that. Guy Fieri's chicken won the poll, and it's
Wow.
by a vote of 51%. It's probably because Guy Fieri is a name. And
Right.
kind of a celebrity name, and so hey, let's try his chicken. And by the way,
the
it was
irony,
like chicken
Guy
strips.
Fieri's famously not a good chef.
Well, and I think with
He's
this
a good
chicken
TV
thing,
personality.
this isn't like we're not
Yeah.
going to a fancy restaurant. This is like chicken strips or something. Okay?
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
fancy chicken. The pizza delivered to the seat was next with 30%. The funnel cake fries were 14%. And Sean, you actually got something right finally. The vegan chili was like the distant last choice. Thank God.
Yeah.
5%.
That was the last
Yeah.
thing I was waiting for, guys.
Listen.
I quit the Hog Sty now. I've been right.
If people are vegans, they can do what they want, but I'm not eating that damn chili.
Now, we got an extraordinarily small few number of comments because, again, what this poll proved is that nobody cares about this. We did
Right.
try Redskins because, newsflash behind the curtain, the reason they send us these press releases like this is they're
They
asking
want
us
people.
to
They
promote.
want to publicize it. Yes.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. And so we did our bet. We tried Redskins. So we'll go. I'll read a couple comments because, quite honestly, we only have a couple comments. Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
He's a guy Dave writes in all the time. He says they can increase the quality of food all they want, as the stadium will always be one of the most horrendously built places in the league. So that's Dave's bout of negativity.
Right.
Jonathan Levitt, I think he's a new one, maybe.
I don't
He
remember
wrote-
the name.
See, I read this comment because, again, we don't have too many comments, but he's also different. He says, although I'm not vegan, I think I'd choose the Ben's chili because it's local to the team. Pizza, seat delivery would be second. The other two choices you can get lots of other places. I don't know if you can get the Guy Fieri chicken lots of other
No,
places.
it's only going to be at Redskins Park in Disney World. Apparently, it's opening in 2 locations.
Okay, I'll read 2 more here real fast. Mike Parlett, who's at Parlett316, writes, If I go funnel fries are being purchased. That stuff's amazing. And then finally we've got we'll go with Kevin Feenan. He says none. I won't be there till Fire Bruce Allen was gone. So there's another.
There we go.
Little negative. So that's
So I think I don't understand how pizza didn't run away. Like, you don't have to wait in line. Someone's just going to bring you a pizza that's in your seat. How do you not?
Well, first of all, Rick Snyder and I are of one mind when it comes to stadium food. Okay,
right. You guys hate anything if it's not a hot dog.
All
basically.
I want is a hot dog.
Right.
In absence of, if the hot dog, basically here's my rule: if whatever's a shorter line between the hot dog and the pizza, that's where I'm going.
And guess what's better than a short line?
No
Sitting
line.
in your seat. Yeah,
Right.
sitting in your seat, someone brings you something.
I would definitely do the pizza thing because I don't have to get up.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
Yeah,
you got to
and
tip
the hot
the
dog
pizza guy
vendor.
when he comes. Do you got to give him a tip?
I don't.
Well, I mean, does it end up being like an adult film situation? You know, with the
Probably.
pizza guy?
Ideally.
What, dude? We're in the public, man. That's called a felony. Okay.
Hey,
All right,
you've
fair
seen
enough.
the pictures from
That's gonna
Redskins
get you
Stadium
on a-
before, right?
Yeah, that's going to get you on a list that you don't want to be on. Okay.
Maybe a couple.
You know what? It would get you on this DC sports blog if memory serves from last
It would also
last
get you
time
on a
something
sex offenders list. so.
That's probably true.
But yes, what Alex was talking about, if for those of you who haven't seen this, you can Google it. We're not going to link it on our site. There are photographs of
People having intercourse
women-
in the stands.
yeah,
Yes.
of women performing acts on men while they're standing up, leaning over a seat, and the woman is kneeling in front of them.
Right.
There are many photographs of that sort of stuff.
I'm not sure
happening
I'm
at FedEx
following.
Field.
I'm going to need more details, Steve. What exactly are you getting at here?
They're not pretty pictures, Sean, because imagine the people who are at these games.
Yeah,
Imagine
right.
the people who are actually willing to do that sort of thing in public.
Yeah.
Probably are not people you want to see, whether male or female.
Oh,
Well, whatever
that does
your-
remind me of one more upgrade to the stadium that's finally complete. They announced this last year, and it's finally finished, and that's the party zones in the end zones that they're kind of doing.
Okay.
They're putting like big bars on one of the end zones.
Yeah, those are where some of the seats they ripped out.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way,
And it's called the Bud Light Party Pavilion, and they have these at all the arena football games I go to now, and that's probably the most popular place for people to hang out.
Yeah.
Is these big, like all you can eat, all you can drink spots in the end zones, and
You
a
gotta
lot
buy
of
special
stadiums are
tickets
building
to-
those now.
To get in those? Is that how it works? You got to
Yeah,
buy
It's a
it?
special
buy-
ticket.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
buy a standing room only ticket is what you do.
Got it.
And I think those are the people that couldn't care less about football. They're just there for the party, basically.
Right.
I mean, that's not me. I would hang myself before I went to go in a place like that.
I mean,
but
that's everything you hate. It's drinking
yeah.
and people like crowding
yeah,
each other.
I would jump
Yeah.
off. I would jump off the balcony to
Right.
get away from it.
Yeah, but that's the last little note from the upgrades.
All right.
But look, I mean, you got to bring people in the stadium somehow, right?
Right.
You got to make an experience. And the other thing is, and this is going to be like an IJB topic, so I won't get into it too much. But I mean, there's going to be live betting in the stadium at some point. Okay, live betting, and wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a few years. There will be live in-seat betting. This is just me talking. Live in-seat betting at NFL football stadiums.
You and everybody else, like everyone's just wait. It
It's gonna
depends on
happen.
what state you're in, and the states all have to pass laws. That's all.
And the NFL is going to have to get behind it because the NFL
Right.
governs what can and can't be done in football stadiums.
The
So
NFL's
if-
building an $8 billion stadium in Vegas. You don't think they're behind it?
Oh, listen, I mean, MGM is the
Yeah.
one that's involved in all this stuff right now. We talked about this on IJB 2 weeks ago. MGM's going to offer the NFL enough money, and they're going to do it in a heartbeat.
Yep.
It's just a money thing.
Yep. And they bought that thing from the AAF.
Pretty soon it's all going to be about beer, partying, and betting, and not about football,
Right.
which it was everything I abhor.
Well,
Yep.
hey, at least you can say they're trying some stuff to bring new audiences into the stadium. I put this at like a less than 5% chance of making any kind of demonstrable change, but at least they're trying.
Yeah. I don't think it'll change anything. Either you love going to sporting events or you don't.
Yeah.
And most people would rather watch on TV.
I would rather go to the stadium because I can see the whole field. This is me, like nerdy X's and O's guy. It's like when you watch it on TV. If I could
Yeah,
get
you
the
miss
all
out.
20, if I could get the all 22 film live, I would definitely never go to a game. But I like going to the game so you can see the entire field. That's why I like it. I hate all of the rest of it. The traffic. I hate the people. I don't
Right.
want to be around any of those.
You don't like
people.
crowds. You don't.
No,
yeah.
not really. And so but I go because that's how I like watching the game best.
Right. Now, your ideal situation, it's a stadium with one seat.
Yeah, exactly. Just put me alone, or put everybody. Give me a whole section of myself.
Right.
I could deal with that.
All right. Well, beautiful. Do we want to move on to our last topic here? We got about 11 minutes to talk about our next position group. Maybe a couple more.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get through it because it's an easy group.
Let's zip on through. So we got defensive linemen this week, right?
Right.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Jonathan Allen first. I think this group begins and ends with Jonathan Allen, 6'3", 300 pounds, out of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I was preparing for the show last night, as I always do, and what really struck me about him is how on earth did this guy fall to the 17th overall pick?
Injury worries. Dude, that's about it.
I know. I mean, unanimous All-American.
Mm-hmm.
He won the
so technically proficient when you watch him.
Oh yeah, he's a smart guy. He's well spoken. He's a
good leader. Yeah.
He won the Nagurski Trophy, won the Lombardia Trophy, won the Bednarik Award, unanimous All-American, 3-time first-team All-SEC. This dude fills absolutely every square. It was just an injury thing, and he's been every bit of what I had personally hoped.
Other than missing a few games, very happy with that pick.
Okay, so on that, he played 5 games in his first year in 2017 before he got hurt.
Right.
And then he played every game last year. His combined stats in 21 games, 71 tackles, 9 sacks, 38 solo tackles.
And I think he played something like 80-90% of the snaps, too. He played a ton last year. Yeah,
So,
I'm got to be thrilled with Allen.
This guy he's the future.
Yeah.
We could talk about him all day, but okay, Doron Payne, 6'3", 320 pounds, also out of Alabama.
Bring the pain, baby.
Yeah, last year 5 sacks, 56 tackles, 35 solo tackles. When I did a Tim Settle film study a while ago, and we'll get to Tim Settle here in a minute.
Yeah.
But my initial thought, I think a lot of people's initial thought is, Payne is probably going to be the inside guy.
Yeah, we all thought he was just a nose tackle type.
I don't think that's true. I think he's more versatile than that. And Tim Settle is the guy who plays a lot of nose tackle, but I think Payne is good enough where he can play sort of anywhere along the defensive line. So I think his future, his destiny may be not a nose tackle, maybe 3-4 defensive end. But I don't know if he had as good a debut year as Allen did, but I think he's still a worthy 13th overall pick.
Well,
he's the future too.
If you're looking at, he was out there for longer because again, Allen got hurt pretty early in his rookie season. But so you got to give Payne that the availability is something that's important.
Oh, by the way, on Allen, he went to high school in Ashburn.
Yeah.
He's a local kid. I forgot to mention that, but sorry.
Yeah, I remember at his draft conference he was talking about growing up hanging out with Chris Cooley. And
when the first quarterback he remembers was
McNabb.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And that made me feel old when he said that.
Yeah. Okay, so, anyway, so I very clearly, Payne and Allen are the future. I think if all goes well, and it looks like it is, and at this point, the all goes well part means they stay healthy.
Right.
I think what we're going to see is Jonathan Allen, Doron Payne are going to be 10-year cornerstones of the defensive line.
They very likely, Now the tricky part is because we play so many 2-man fronts, like you were saying, one guy we kind of said he's a nose tackle, but we don't really use a nose tackle. We're basically running.
We do run. No, we do use a nose tackle. We do. What we're not doing is 2-gapping it. Okay.
Right.
That's like Vince Wolfrick is a 2-gapping nose tackle. And so what he's doing is he's taking the one slot.
Right, over center.
Yeah. Well, the 0 is directly over center. What I'm saying is like the 1 is when you're sort of off kilter from the center a little bit.
Right.
He's eating all of that space, and that's not what Doron Payne or Tim Settle are doing.
They're kind of both lining up between the.
They're a 1-gap. We're still sort of. We're not a 2-gap.
Right.
3-4 defense. So.
Right.
That's just what we do. So anyway, obviously we don't need to. You guys listening don't need us to tell you that Payne and Allen have been everything that we hoped.
Yes. The only thing you can say is, okay, how high is the ceiling going to be for that?
Yeah, Exactly. I mean, I will be disappointed. Here's what what I'll say. I'm going to be disappointed this year if Jonathan Allen isn't in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I think
That needs to be the goal. That needs to be the goal. And I'll go so far as to say he may be our first team All-Pro in a long time at some point.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody can do it, it's him.
Yeah, I agree. He's got all the grit you could ever want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next guy up, of course, Alex's lover. Matt Ioannidis from Temple University.
Just re-signed this year, so he'll be there for a couple years, right?
Has he been in a good mood, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, chipper.
Has he bought you a gift? This is what I want to know.
No, there's no gifts.
Contract. No gift, huh?
Yeah.
I think we all know what kind of gift.
Temple alumni are famously stingy.
So everybody knows. I'm obviously kidding, but Matt Ioannidis signed a 3-year deal, $21.75 million. Of that, $14 million was guaranteed. So,
yep.
Good for him. 6'3", 310 pounds. Now, Ioannidis is a guy who sort of came. Look, he was a 5th-round pick. Alex, you were high on him, because you watch a lot of Temple football. But I don't know if a lot of other people really knew him when he came here.
Right.
He bounced around a little bit between the practice squad here and there.
First year, yeah.
Yeah, he has played 38 games, started 19, 12 sacks, 65 total tackles in his career, 42 solo tackles. He's been outstanding. Here's the stat I want to give you guys, and then I'll shut up. Because this is the other thing that blew my mind. I'm looking at the stats yesterday, and I went, oh my God. The interior of the Redskins' offensive line last year alone, over 20 sacks.
Yeah, it was, I think, 8.5 for Allen, right?
Well, PFR had it as 8. I know he's been credited on other sites with 8.5, but
so let's say 8 for him, 5 for Payne, and then another 7 or something for
7.5
for Ioannidis. Yeah,
that's 20.5, 20.5 sacks.
And we run a 3-4.
Yep.
In theory, where usually they should all be getting 2, maybe 1 for a nose tackle. So that's unheard of for a.
That is freaking amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah. They might be the best 3-4 front in the league that no one talks about.
Yeah, I don't think there's any denying that there's a ton of talent and potential there. Ioannidis is fantastic. He has not quite made it a full season, though, right, in his 3 years?
He gets injured. He usually misses 2 games or so.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I think you can knock him for is that.
He's played 14 games in both 2017 and both 2018. He played 10 in 2016, but that was 1 year when he was on the practice squad.
Right.
So he's missed 2 games each year he was a full-time player.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't really hurt his stock very much. No. I mean, he's so productive otherwise that who cares?
The Redskins didn't care. They gave him $21 million.
Yeah. Right. And he's the guy who probably is the sub because we only use 2 so often.
No, I mean they don't use 2 so often. They do use a 3-man front a lot. I don't think it's accurate to say they use a 2-man front more. They use a 3-man front a lot. They do rotate guys in and out. Now, I think the wild card in this is Tim Settle, next guy. Mm-hmm. Tim Settle basically kicked Stacey McGee out the door. Okay?
Right.
Which makes sense.
I was curious. One of our readers actually suggested I do a study on Tim Settle.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great idea, and he emailed us a whole bunch of ideas, actually. You know who you are out there. We appreciate it. But the Tim Settle one caught my eye, and so I went back and watched all of Tim Settle's rookie year film. And that is to say, really 4 games. Because
he didn't play a whole lot last year.
No. And you can go read it out there. It's from June 12th if you want to go read it, because it's got film clips and all that, and I could talk for an hour about this. But here's what I'll say about Tim Settle. Far more versatile than I thought he would be. My vision of Tim Settle was big, fat nose tackle.
Right. Because what is he, 350 or so? Or is he smaller than that?
328 is what I have.
328, okay.
Yeah, but he just looks like a nose tackle.
Yeah.
Okay?
Got
was
that
my
build.
vision of him. Yeah. It is true he plays the 0 and the 1 technique more often than not, but I found him lining up I found him on one play lined up over the tight end, okay, in one of these games. He's a far more versatile dude, and he's far more athletic than people give him credit for. He's violent, very, very violent. He knows how to shed blocks. Mm-hmm. He's really good at shedding blocks. He can just dump these offensive linemen. I mean, his situational awareness, his head's on a swivel. I think he's explosive by his standards, by big guy standards. I think he can be a very, very good player. I think he's a better player than I gave him credit for. The Virginia Tech guys out there knew it already. Because they were talking about him. I didn't because I hadn't really watched him. But watching his film last year, only played in the last quarter of the season. But has a ton of promise.
Isn't that kind of the mold that those top 4 guys all have, though? That, yeah, they kind of look like they should fit one particular spot, but all of them are fairly versatile. And I could see Allen lining up on the center from time to time. You can make mismatches with all these guys from time to time.
What I always say, the one thing Jay Gruden likes more than anything else is versatility.
Yeah.
And these guys we've talked about, Allen, Payne, Ioannidis, and Settle, all of them can basically play every spot. I found Settle playing the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Okay? I can give you film. I did publish film clips of all of those. I did not find him playing the 5-tech. That was the only one I didn't find him playing. Was that? So I think they're all very versatile, and that's really and truly at the end of the day what Jay Gruden wants more than anything. So.
Right. Well, now we kind of get to the next thing, which is as good as all 4 of those guys, and I think all 4 of those guys are capable NFL caliber defensive tackles, defensive ends, whatever you want to call them, linemen. There is a big old cliff right now from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You know?
Yeah. The 5 would be Caleb Brantley.
But I mean, he's competing. He's not in there on pen. He's very lately penciled in.
Caleb Brantley, 6th-round pick of the Cleveland Browns in 2017, 6'2", 305. Played in 7 games last year, started 0. He's only started 1 game in his career. He's got 19 total tackles, 2 sacks. This is called a warm body.
Career. For his whole career, you mean 19 tackles, right?
Entire career, for 2 seasons. Yeah. 19 tackles in 2 seasons.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah, it's kind of, it was stretching the imagination a little bit to say his entire career because it's 2 seasons.
It's only 2 seasons.
Hey, that's 600-something days.
This is the very definition of a warm body, people.
Yes.
What can you say? With all the injuries, he can be a competent fill-in. What else can you say about him, really and truly?
You heard it here first, Caleb. Get out there and surprise us, bro.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Get out there and surprise us.
Good luck to you. I don't have faith, but good luck.
JoJo Wicker, next, 6'3", 263 pounds, out of Arizona State. He was on the practice squad last year.
Yep.
He had a decent. He's more of a defensive end. This is not an interior guy. He's more of not an edge rusher, but he would be the defensive tackle in the 3-4. Okay, he's really a pass rusher. Believe it or not, he had 12.5 sacks in college. So he's a pass rusher is what he is. Think about his weight, 6'3", 263 pounds. That is not an interior guy, people. That is an edge, a farther out on the edge type of guy, okay?
That's he should be playing in a 4-3 more than anything, it sounds like.
I mean, you have him maybe over in the 5-tech, maybe.
Yeah.
That far out. That's who JoJo Wicker is. He hadn't played. He didn't play. No. He has no stats.
Again, practice squad guy, like you said.
Yeah. But that's who JoJo Wicker is, just to give you a flavor. Now, these
probably will be practice squad guy again.
The last 2 guys are pretty interesting, okay? This is people you've never heard of, and of course, because I'm me, I've heard of them.
But, I'm embarrassed to say I thought there was just one. This is someone I've definitely never heard of. If there's 2,
I'm saving the best for last.
I wrote down 3 somehow. I don't know.
Holy crap!
Jonathan Bonner. Well, it's because you probably got Andrew Ankara, right? And
no.
we did him. Who else do you? Okay, I've got Jonathan Bonner and Austin Malota.
What about Ryan B? I saw that name.
Gone
already.
Oh, he's gone?
Yeah.
Rip.
Yeah.
Update your roster, Redskins, on your website.
And ESPN.
Jonathan Bonner, 6'4", 295 pounds, out of Notre Dame. Jonathan Bonner is one of these super high character guys. There's a story published out there, and my source here is Bleacher Report, of the Notre Dame athletic staff claiming that this is the type of guy when he and Chip Kelly walk into the school, the entire school gave him a round of standing applause. You know, very high character guy. His mother had cancer 3 times.
Wow.
You know, yeah.
Ooh, that's awful.
He wrote a letter. That same Bleacher Report article, I'm not going to read it, but quoted a letter that he wrote to himself in the 8th grade. You know, he's writing to his future self, and he's talking about, you know, he says, for example, if this is Bonner writing to himself, if you have touched a drug, I consider you a failure. You better change now or you're wasting your life. Same thing with alcohol. Stay away from knuckleheads. Be nice to your sister. This is a guy, he's writing this to himself in 8th grade. So this is, I don't know if...
Excuse me.
Joke. Listen, I mean, you know, he's a high character guy. You know, and the Redskins also like high character guys. So whether he can play, you know, who knows. But this is a guy who he's easy to root for just because he seems to be a very good dude. You know, 4 years at Notre Dame, you know, didn't have a ton of, you know, only had 64 tackles in 4 years. He didn't wow anybody. Is he going to make the roster? Probably not. But, you know, he's easy to root for.
That's cool to know about him, though. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm pulling for him.
So a high character guy from Notre Dame sounds like a movie.
Yeah, where have we heard that before? We had Vince Papali's son in camp for 5 minutes. You know?
Oh, right. We had that
Jamal
movie, too.
Jamal interviewed him. You know?
Yeah.
I was rooting for him just so we could have Vince Papali, you know, on the team, or Vinny Papali. And, you know, incidentally, it sounds like he belongs in The Sopranos, right? Vinny Papali.
Yeah.
Okay, the next guy. Bit. For every Jonathan Bonner, there is an Austin Malota, okay? It's like the Steve Thomas versus Steve-O from Jackass. That's the scale here, okay?
Right.
Austin Malota was at Oregon for 3 years, and then he wasn't at Oregon anymore. And then the reason he wasn't at Oregon anymore is that he got a DUI, okay? And he collided with another car, ran a red light. He blew a .11. And, oh, yeah, they found methamphetamines in the car.
Oh, that's never good.
Yeah. Now, to tell the whole story, Malota claimed it was not his, and that it was, you know, it must have been someone else in the car because he had, and you know, who knows. But the point
meth was there when I got the car, sir. I mean, how many times have you guys said that? Every day to me.
Yeah, it's not my meth.
Yeah.
You know?
It's amazing how no one's ever responsible for the meth in these cars.
And I'll just say that, okay, and the Oregon Ducks kicked him out of school in 8 hours. 8 hours after this happened, he was gone. Okay.
Wow. Now, wait, was he in Oregon? He wasn't in Oregon when Chip Kelly was there, right? They're not both.
Chip Kelly, who does not have an ethical bone in his body,
right,
kicked this dude out in 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, and to his credit, he sat out a year and then transferred to Austin Peay. You know, and had a competent year, and he earned himself a shot, you know, in Redskins training camp. So good on you. But this is not a high character guy.
No.
We don't know him at all. Maybe he learned his lesson. Maybe he turned his life around. Granted, he made a very serious mistake. We'll say it like that. I think it's accurate to say when you get caught with meth in a DUI stop, it's a serious mistake.
Yes.
You know? So, by the way, he's 6'1", 300 pounds, if anybody was wondering.
Do you know how much alcohol it takes for someone that size to also blow a .11?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's a lot.
Yeah.
I think I could probably drink one beer, and I would probably be at that limit, considering, you know, my tolerance is probably 0.
Right. But
he could probably drink my weight in alcohol and not be at .11, you know.
Yeah, Jesus.
So that's Austin Malota. I don't have a lot to say in terms of actual football from this guy. He's probably not going to make the team.
No.
You know, he's a back of the roster guy. This whole getting caught with meth thing is much more interesting anyway. So
Absolutely.
That's Austin Malota.
It's not the craziest story I've heard of someone getting arrested this week, but that's still not
good. It's a pretty good one. Pretty good.
Yeah.
If you've got a better one, speak up.
Well, there was a news story about some couple who got caught with a rattlesnake and uranium in their car, but you know, that was the whole thing.
That's kind of out there. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing with the remaining? What are you doing with the uranium? Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's the rattlesnake that also worries me.
I can almost see the rattlesnake.
Yeah.
At some level, if you're like, I don't know, I can see the rattlesnake before the uranium for sure. I mean, maybe you're like a reptile guy,
right?
You're not a fissionable material guy.
Yeah,
you know?
Not if you also are a rattlesnake guy. No, those two people never cross.
No, And if you are a fissionable material guy, I'd suggest that the CIA may need to look into you.
What do you got the rattlesnakes again? None of this makes sense.
It's a very odd combination. We need to get them on the show. That's what we need to be.
Oh, they're in jail in I think Kentucky right now.
That's true.
Have they already used their phone call? Because they could call the Hog Sty at any point.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because it's not like an attorney is going to help these two people very much at this point.
No, nothing helps you with those.
When you get caught with uranium and rattlesnakes,
Nope.
I was going to say, actually, speaking of helping people, do either of you have a spare kidney by any chance? There is a former Redskin in need of it that we have not talked about yet.
That's true.
Not much to say about this. Albert Haynesworth, obviously, if you've been living under a rock, you didn't hear this, but Albert Haynesworth is having some serious medical problems, needs a kidney. And actually, the last thing I heard was that they'd received a ton of offers and a lot of people trying to help. So that's what I heard about it. Prayers to him.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming he's not getting many offers from this area, though. I'm assuming they're...
to me, it's all about football. I didn't like him as a player. I certainly don't wish ill will on him. I don't wish him to be on his deathbed. I hope he finds a kidney for sure.
Me too.
Once he gets healthy, we can go back to making fun of him again. But
fine. I will suspend my making fun of Albert Haynesworth thing. Let me know when I can tell my jokes about him again.
I just know you're going to do another drunken rant that we're going to have to delete.
Nah, it's fine.
The site.
I don't care about Albert Haynesworth enough to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
for those of you who missed it, for like a half an hour, there was a drunken Alex rant on the site that we had to delete.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
My mom listened to it. I know that.
Yeah,
hey, Alex called me at halftime.
Said something to me, I think.
You called me at halftime of that show, and we're like, I want to do a show. Alex, we're going to do a show in about really 2 hours. We're going to do a show. What are you talking about? I want to do it now. Okay. Whatever, dude. Yeah. And then next thing I hear, Sean is telling me that it's something.
When Sean says it's a problem, it's a problem.
It's going to be something that we're never going to be allowed in Redskins Park ever again.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah. But look, Redskins fans listening to this show have all been there, so I think we're in good company on this show.
Hey, and you know what? We're at training camp, so I'll be there. We got our passes, so
we once again we slimed our way into training camp. People, the Hog Sty will be present.
Yes,
at training camp.
Yeah, look for me. I'll be the drunk guy yelling at Bruce Allen from the press corps.
Hey, by the way, let's tout our new guys since we're coming to the end of the show here.
Yeah.
We've had two new great writers who've been writing for us for several months. Eric Hill and then Jay Evans. They've been doing a really good job for us, writing columns every week about it. Jay is going to be a correspondent at training camp also, so we're sending Jay for a day or two.
Yeah.
So Jay, Alex, and Jamal will all be there at various times, so we have quality representation this year.
Usually on weekends. We don't go generally during the week.
See, one of these days I'm going to make it and go myself.
Yeah.
I'm the stucky that has to arrange it all, and I'm end up producing all the clips and stuff because I'm home, which stinks. One of these days I'm going to get there myself.
Yeah. You really should. And, for all the complaining people may do about Richmond and camp being there, I really like the Richmond camp. I think it's nice.
Well, you see, my go to DC time and money got eaten up by a wedding I didn't want to go to.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Yeah. So
tends to happen.
Anyway, so the point is, please read their stuff.
Yeah, they're writing good stuff.
Yeah, and that's a great call out. We will be at Redskins Park in the weeks to come. That's a great thing to call attention to. So we got all kinds of sweet up-to-date content.
We'll be at training camp.
Training camp. Sorry, not Redskins Park. Training camp. So
Right.
we got all kinds of very awesome content coming up as a result of that. Just in case you thought we were slowing down or we weren't going to hit this year as hard as we do previous years, you're wrong. We're hitting it just as hard. Even better.
We always hit things hard on this show.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes
it's a hard-hitting show. Yeah.
There you go, Alex. Actually, that's the perfect bow to put on it. All right. Anything else sticking out to you guys this week? Happened in the news? Any minor things? Feel free to call them out.
Seasons of Discontent is off for one more week, and then it's back.
I thought they were back this week. Darn it!
No, they're back on the next episode will be on the 23rd of July.
Awesome.
Tell Rick to get his butt back from Europe.
Rick is back from Europe. I think
know.
it's Matt is the one that's gone now.
Tell Matt to get his butt back from Ocean City, wherever he is.
Because I can guarantee you Matt Cohen's isn't going on a European cruise.
No.
We love Matt, but he's not going on a cruise.
No. I think generationally, I think he's about 20 years too young for the cruise thing.
I think he's also too poor for a cruise.
Oh yeah, he just had a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got
Kids take money, people. In case you don't, you guys don't know how much money it takes. Matt Cones does know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do
Yes,
not
he does.
envy him for that.
Nope.
Just wait,
It'll
Just
happen.
wait, Sean. Your turn will come.
All right, on that cheery note that I have wonderful things to look forward to in life, we can go ahead and call it here unless you guys got anything else to throw out.
No.
All right,
Not.
cool. Well, this has been the Hog Sty. Absolute pleasure to be with you listeners. As always, we will be back again next week. Keep checking thehogsty.com. And oh my gosh, we're about a month away from the season, or I guess preseason starting. So we are almost there. We are right at the end. Stick with us. More Hog Sty coming. We'll see you all next time. Cut. Hey everybody, just kidding, us again. We did just realize there was one thing we neglected to bring up, and it is somewhat important, so we figured we'd just get this message out. And that is, of course, an injury update to Mr. Darius Geis. Missed last season with an ACL and has had a bit of a setback. Hurt his hamstring is the word that we're getting. Questionable for the start of camp. Have you guys heard anything about this as well?
No, this story came from Aaron Hawksworth, who's with 106.7 The Fan. And apparently he's questionable for the start of training camp. There's no real indication as to whether this is sort of a result of a complication from the ACL, because this happens, when you're favoring one leg over another in training,
Right.
you get things like hamstring pulls. We don't know if it's that or, if it's just random. Don't know. It starts to get me concerned. How injury prone is this dude?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm also seeing something from Craig Hoffman on Twitter, since we're just going to list whoever we found this from because, it's breaking.
Not our news.
Yeah, it's breaking.
Yeah.
He said it apparently happened a few weeks ago, and they're just now releasing the info.
Okay, so it happened a few weeks ago, and he's still questionable for the start of camp. That's
even more. That's
Yeah.
even worse.
Yeah.
That is even worse. Is it safe to say if he misses a couple games this year, that's going to be enough to get him an injury-prone label? I mean, what do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. If he missed a couple games, sure. But this is the kind of thing where he might miss a preseason game. If
Hopefully.
it's just a hamstring, I'd think.
I think the guy needs as much, game time experience as he can get.
I agree with you there, but I'm just saying that level injury, if it's just a hamstring, you'll be fine.
The good news is we've got Adrian Peterson.
Yes.
That's right.
And look at the amazing season he had last year.
Right. That, and at least we can say this wasn't another ACL tear or something like that, which would be out for the season.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a hamstring problem,
Have it right now.
June or July is the time to do it. Right.
Right.
Yeah, well said.
I wonder if it's a dehydration issue because it's just been so damn hot. That leads to
Hopefully,
hammies
a
and things.
professional athlete knows how to hydrate.
I'd hope,
that
but
much. Yeah.
Hopefully. All right, well, that's a developing story. Obviously, we'll keep our eyes on it and report back to you when anything else happens. And we'll let you guys get back to your weekend. Have a good one.
all right.
Cut again. Sweet.
You realize when you say that, the weekend's already over, right? The weekend's already over, right? The weekend's already over, right? The weekend's already over, right?